Could really use a sense
This
of
finna be a
urgency
draw.
right to getting back in the ring.
He gonna counter right now. You're taking too long. You gonna counter it. Told you. It's gonna be a draw. It's gonna be a draw. Okay, did not know what to do. I've never been in this situation before. Get back in ring. In ring. In ring. Error. Back to CKW action as we start off with babyface Bayley taking on Mike Messiah, who is still looking for his first victory, but this would not be the match as Bayley, who has been thriving in the last few weeks, goes out and absolutely dismantles Mike Messiah, which draws the attention of the current CKW Liberty champion Kyrie Nixon immediately after the match, staring down Bayley, issuing a challenge for the belt. But before we can get to that, we have a return of a legend as Shaka Wraith will be facing off against a CKW OG, the return of Jerome Briggs. Jerome making his return for the first time this season, facing off against Shaka Wraith, who is still trying to find his groove in the company. And Shaka Wraith does not care about the return of an OG or about what he has done in the past. Shaka Wraith wasting no time in this match as he starts off with a barrage, but it didn't take very long for Jerome Briggs to get himself together. Throws Shaka into the referee, immediately responds, and this is all she wrote. Jerome Briggs countering Shaka's attempt at getting some offense back together, drops the leg, and a 1, 2, 3 equals his first victory as Jerome Briggs firmly makes his mark back with the CKW. But from one OG to another, as the champion Dean McCarthy addresses the people to talk about his next opponent. Dean McCarthy off to a phenomenal start in CKW, had a bit of a shaky month, but before we can say anything,
He is headed straight to the ring.
Magic makes his presence known. The Crash Out, who has done such a great job in the beginning months and letting people know who the new top dog could be, interrupts Dean McCarthy and has a few words to say to him. Magic believes that he should be next up for the championship contention, but Dean did not take kindly to Magic interrupting his conversation with the audience as a brawl suddenly broke out between the two competitors. Dean McCarthy and Magic have history from previous seasons in CKW, and that is no different here today. Magic starting off strong, but Dean McCarthy showing why he is the current reigning champion as he gets Magic in a very compromising situation on the top rope, going for a finish, gets the drop, hurts himself in the process, looks for the 1, 2, 3, but it won't happen. Magic counters out of it, and he decides to take over from that point on.
These competitors just keep racing.
Dean had an opportunity, does not capitalize off of it, and Magic will do just that.
That's it. It's done. And straight into the pin attempt. There's 2.
As Magic gets the drop on the champion and he makes his presence known. We move on to week 2 in month 1, and we start immediately with Magic facing off against Dean, but Magic won't be the one wrestling as he debuts his new partnership with Rick Blade. Rick Blade now joining the Crash Outs as they call themselves the Crash Out Club. And once again, Dean McCarthy sees himself facing the numbers game. We just saw Dean McCarthy surviving Drip Messiah and his alliance with Terminus, and now Dean facing a 2v1 situation again. Rick Blade wasting no time going after the champion, trying to weaken him and make things easier for Magic in the coming weeks. as Rick Blade solidifies his name as well. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that situation. But from one champion to another, Kyrie Nixon defending the CKW Liberty belt against Bayley after Bayley gained his respect with back-to-back victories. Now it's a battle for the mid-card title in the CKW Liberty belt. And once again, Kyrie Nixon bringing it back to the underground in a back-to-back underground defense, this time against Bayley. Bayley out there representing the hometown basketball squad, the New York Knicks, and hopefully that's going to pay dividends in this match. But it starts off all Kyrie Nixon until Bayley finds his groove. But it seems like that would be the only offense you would get out of Bayley in this match, as Kyrie Nixon defends the belt for another time in an underground fashion, knocking out Bayley. And we're going to have to see what's next for Kyrie Nixon. But what's this? Seems we have a special report from the GM himself. Take it away, iamCK. Interesting turn of events will be taking place now, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, with Kyrie Nixon winning his second defense and going undefeated, he has made a very interesting proposal. After two defenses, 5-0 record, it hurts me to say, well, it doesn't hurt me to say, it's wild for me to say, Kyrie Nixon has decided to bird right adjacent hand off his belt to his partner in crime, Michael Te'o. And Michael Te'o will be defending that belt to solidify it being around his waist here in week 3 against an opponent that you're going to have to wait to find out. And, well, you ask, why would he do that, and what does that mean for Kyrie Nixon? Well, he will get the winner, the outcome of Magic versus Dean McCarthy. Whoever wins will go to Kyrie Nixon next immediately for the belt. This will be active immediately. Michael Te'o will be defending to hold on to that belt immediately here in week 3. I'll see you guys in a few. Big announcement from the GM, but we'll get to that later, as we are in week 3 in this first month, where we see Los Buenos make their debut. Bayley, El Flapjack Larry, and Ace Rodriguez as they go up against Terminus, who have started things off on the strong side as they hold the tag team champions and the championship hopeful Drip Messiah. And Los Buenos looking to make an impact early, but they might have bitten off more than they can chew, as the tag team champions in Curtis King and the FRO waste no time taking out all 3 opponents as they continue to tag in one another. Curtis King doesn't even need to go to his tag team members early, as Curtis just picks apart each member one by one. But now Curtis tagging in Drip Messiahs as they go for a fancy combo here against El Flapjack Larry, and now Drip joining in on the fun. It has been all Terminus, all match long. They make sure you feel all of the pain. Drip Messiah getting some moves in on El Flapjack Larry, and now it's the FRO's turn as he takes out Bayley, who is fresh off of a loss against Kyrie Nixon for the belt, and it would be a wrap from there. FRO ends the job, and Terminus get their first W as a complete faction. We'll see more from them in the future, but now with the numbers game going towards Magic, it seems that Dean McCarthy brings out a familiar friend. Silas LaFleur returns to the CKW, where we had Jerome Briggs return in week 1. Now the pretty petty member Silas LaFleur returning to help out his buddy Dean McCarthy retain. And with Rick Blade not out there with Magic, the number game suddenly is in favor of Dean. But that does not make a difference, because Magic, in perfect crash out fashion, wastes no time and doesn't even let Dean McCarthy get a solid move in. And with a 1-2-3, Magic continues to call the shots against the champion in this rivalry, getting another W. And this is not looking good for the likes of Dean McCarthy, even with the help of Silas LaFleur. But after the big announcement from Michael Te'o, we look to see who the mystery opponent will be in Michael Te'o's first defense. And it is none other than Rick Blade. And we find out why Rick Blade was not ringside for Magic in his last match, because he was preparing for an opportunity at a title. Right now, the Crash Out Club wasting no time as they possibly put themselves in position to be double champs, with Magic having a match against Dean McCarthy later, and now Rick Blade taking on Michael Te'o to have Kyrie Nixon's plan blow up in his face. We heard the GM make the announcement from the plan by Kyrie Nixon himself, and now Michael Te'o defending the belt that he didn't rightfully earn. So he believes he wins this match, then he rightfully is the champion. But this is no easy feat because Rick Blade has solidified himself as a bona fide stud in the first few months here in CKW Season 2, and this would be no different. Michael Te'o, the giant, trying to do everything he can, lay out all the power, all the stops that he may have in his bag, but Rick Blade had a response for everything. Michael Te'o trying to choke out the new Crash Out Club member, hitting him with a huge kick, but it would be no different as Rick Blade just bounces right back up, immediately issuing offense to Michael Te'o, and Michael Te'o starting to wobble. But Michael Te'o would recover and get right back on the offense, dropping Rick Blade, going for a 1-2-3, but it will be no good as Rick Blade gets out of it. Another choke thrown from Michael Te'o. Could this be the end? Rick Blade now looking to be at the end of his rope, or is he? Big counter from Rick Blade. Has Michael where he needs him to be, gives him the perk slam, and this is the end of the short-lived championship run of Michael Te'o, and Kyrie Nixon's plan, in fact, does blow up in his face. Michael Te'o not able to defend the belt that Kyrie Nixon held onto, as Rick Blade is your new CKW Liberty champion. So one part of the Crash Out Club plan is complete, as we already look for a challenger for Rick Blade in his first defense as champion, and it's going to be between these three heavy hitters, as Havoc will take on the losing Michael Te'o, who's trying to get his opportunity again at the belt. But this is a triple threat, as Curtis King of Terminus looks to get singles gold to line up with his tag team championship. The winner here will face off against Rick Blade in the next coming month. And look, Curtis King, who has been on a tear, taking out the champion last month, helping Drip Messiah in his route to try and get a championship, becoming a tag team championship holder with the FRO. Curtis King looking to get things going, but as Curtis King hits Michael Te'o early with the kiss thy foot, dropping him down, but Havoc responds and stops the pin immediately. And now here comes the big fellas as they start to take things over. Curtis King starting off strong, but now Michael Te'o and Havoc showing off their strength, as Michael Te'o has Curtis King alone in the ring. He might have used all his energy to start up the match, and Michael Te'o looking to end it and gets himself another opportunity at the belt. So Rick Blade, Michael Te'o Part 2 will be coming up next. But before that, the championship defense that we all were looking forward to. Dean McCarthy, accompanied by Silas LaFleur, even out the playing field, expecting Magic to show up with the new CKW Liberty champion 2-on-2, but another curveball for the Crash Out Club, as the silent and behind the scenes Owen Dallas is the newest member and the third member of the Crash Out Club, and again, Magic coming out with the numbers game. Just when Dean thought he had enough help, it wasn't enough. But will it matter in this match? Because the match is between Magic and Dean McCarthy. Can Magic's help make him the champion, or will Dean McCarthy's skill get him through this match? Only time can tell, but I will tell you this: Magic wasted no time, as he had an answer for everything Dean McCarthy sent his way.
Straight into harm's way. Hammer to the back of the neck.
Dean not only fighting Magic, arguing with the guys on the sideline, and it just seemed like it was going to be an easy victory for Magic, hitting him with combo after combo, getting the crowd against him, and using that to fuel this win. Drops him, and he's not done there. Magic hitting him with one final finisher, gets the 1-2-3, and Magic completes the mission, as Magic and Rick Blade both hold the two main championships in CKW, and in 1 month, the Crash Out Club take over the CKW. Terminus is looking for a new challenger, and there will be a #1 tag team contention match as Los Buenos takes on a new tag team in the division. Welcome Jerome Briggs to the Crash Out Club, where they now have 4 total members. We just talked about how the Crash Out Club holds the championship belt as well as the Liberty belt, and now with Owen Dallas and Jerome Briggs, there's a possibility they can go and get the tag belts. But Ace Rodriguez does a great job holding his own to make sure Los Buenos gets that opportunity first. Prepared for Jerome Briggs' onslaught and also ready for Owen Dallas joining the ring to play dirty. He's able to take care of both of them. But then it would be all over as Owen Dallas absolutely gives El Flapjack Larry the business. But El Flapjack Larry would not go out without a fight, taking on both Owen Dallas and eventually outside the ring against Jerome Briggs. But Jerome Briggs and the Crash Out Club have a plan, and that's to get all the gold at any means possible. With the countdown to 7, Jerome Briggs makes sure that El Flapjack Larry would have no energy to get back in the ring in time. Jerome taunts El Flapjack Larry, who's still dazed, and the Crash Out Club will win by countout and move on to face Terminus for the tag team belts. Speaking of the Crash Out Club, Rick Blade now addressing the crowd. Talking about how his future opponent in Michael Te'o wants another opportunity to lose something that was never his. He calls him out to the stage, and Michael Te'o does not waste any time. Where everyone would be expecting a brawl to break out between these two, they just have a calm exchange of words. Rick Blade letting it know how he feels about this match, and Michael Te'o believes that he has earned his right for that belt, winning the #1 contenders match. So we will see a part 2 with these two coming up here in a week. But first things first, Silas LaFleur, after being ringside with Dean McCarthy, sees himself in his first match against Drip Messiah, who is trying to lick his wounds after the unfortunate loss against his boy Dean McCarthy. And now they're getting a one-on-one match. This is bringing back an old rivalry between these two from season 1. But Silas LaFleur, who might be a little rusty after making his return last month, as he tries everything he can to get a W here against Drip Messiah. So much so that Silas LaFleur brings paparazzi to ringside to take the attention away from everybody. The crowd's confused, the ref's confused, and he flashes a light in the face of Drip Messiah. Silas able to get right back up, use that to his advantage, drops Drip Messiah, but it would not be enough. Counter after counter, Drip Messiah not worried about it, ready to end this match. And Drip, after the 1-2-3, will get a very needed singles W as he is trying to get himself back to the top of the leaderboards and another shot at the belt in the future. But after the Crash Out Club's tag team victory, solidifying themselves as the #1 contenders, Owen Dallas and Curtis King will face off one-on-one before their tag team championship here in a week. And this match was strictly just for Terminus to let them know who runs the tag division. But when things could just end right there, they won't. Owen Dallas reeling at the side of the ring as the FRO joins the fray to add insult to injury, throwing Owen Dallas out the ring as the tag team champions let everyone know who runs this division. But they still have a match, but they will still have to defend those belts against the Crash Out Club next week. But before we get to that, we see the defense between Rick Blade versus Michael Te'o. Now you see Crash Out Club flexing the belts they have, the main belts of the company in the CKW Liberty Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship. But will that intimidate the challenger Michael Te'o? Michael Te'o holding the belt for a day before losing it. Michael Te'o holding on to the belt for a week before losing it to Rick Blade when he was officially the champion, and now looking to officially become the CKW Liberty Champion by taking Rick Blade out, as he is giving everything he has to the giant Michael Te'o, but so is he. Shot after shot, both wrestlers countering, reversing, doing everything they can in this match to get the upper hand. But Rick Blade at the end of the day will get Michael Te'o right where he needs him.
What's the plan here?
Precarious position. Oh, that hurt. Here's Superstar with more.
As he goes for the super perk slam and gets the 1-2-3 and retains as your CKW Liberty champion, pushing Michael Te'o to the far back of the line, which only makes us wonder what will be next for Michael Te'o and Kyrie Nixon. But next up, we have the tag belts being defended by Terminus as they take on the final two members of the Crash Out Club in Owen Dallas and Jerome Briggs. There's a possibility here for the Crash Out Club to walk away with all of the gold, but the FRO and Curtis King will not make that easy on the challengers. The FRO starting early against Owen Dallas. Owen Dallas coming off of a loss against Curtis King in one-on-one match. You're seeing those effects carrying over this week as the FRO making light work of Owen Dallas. But after a swift tag, we're seeing the battle of the heavyweights with Fro versus Jerome Briggs, and the FRO making easy work of both the Crash Out Club members without even needing Curtis King to this point. The Crash Out Club would try everything they can between the two tag members, but the FRO would just continue to overpower them. Jerome getting a tag in to bring Owen Dallas back out there. The FRO intimidating Owen Dallas with everything he throws at him. And this match was starting to look like it would be over before it already begun. But it wouldn't take long for the FRO to tag in Curtis King for a combo between the Terminus members as Curtis looks to get his first action facing off against an opponent that he beat last week, and it's now Owen Dallas versus Curtis King again. See him on the sideline with the spear and sets himself up to hit Jerome with a kiss thy foot.
From the top rope. From the top.
Dropping Jerome Briggs, going for the 3 count, and right before he could get the victory, Owen Dallas saves his tag team member, and we're back to the FRO versus Jerome. And it seems that the pendulum is starting to swing towards the Crash Out Club. FRO with one more attempt to try and end this match with a headbutt, grabbing Owen Dallas, dropping him, but it would not end the match there. Fro with the tag into Curtis King, and Curtis seemed to have bit off more than he could chew as the Crash Out Club found their second win, and with some great tag team work between the two of them, they're able to weaken Curtis King to the point of almost getting victory back and forth between the two of them, and Curtis King having a hard time getting to the point to tag his partner, the FRO, back in, as Owen Dallas and Jerome Briggs do a great job going back and forth. He eventually gets him back in where FRO tries to gain some ground back from him. Oh, Fro, come on. But Jerome Briggs, too spry, and it's too late for Terminus as the Crash Out Club end the 77-day run from the tag team champion Terminus as they officially hold all of the gold. Every belt is now in the corner of the Crash Out Club. Ace Rodriguez going up against Silas LaFleur. Both of these guys looking to try and be a hopeful future competitor for Rick Blade for the CKW Liberty Championship. Ace Rodriguez doing a great job in the last few months, rising in the power rankings, and a win here against an OG like Silas LaFleur would be a huge one for Ace Rodriguez, looking for his first W since rejoining the CKW. And Ace Rodriguez is on an absolute heater, so this would be no easy match. But Silas LaFleur using the same tactics yet again, using the same stooge to come out here and take a picture, distracting Ace Rodriguez, but this time the distraction would not work, and Ace with the counter to the attack by Silas LaFleur lines him up for his finisher.
Crazy.
He wants it.
Oh, he's not surviving that. That's it.
And gets him with the 1-2-3. Ace Rodriguez with probably his most critical win of his young career, taking out Silas LaFleur. But now it's time for the main event as Dean McCarthy gets his second chance to take on Magic and the Crash Out Club. Fresh off of their tag team victories, you're seeing the Crash Out Club littered in gold. But Dean McCarthy with one final shot at getting his belt back against Magic. Dean McCarthy accompanied by Silas as well as Uncle Ben making his return, so the numbers are somewhat even though 2 of the 3 people on Dean's side are really actual fighters, but the numbers game still evened out 3v3. And even with Dean McCarthy's quick start, Magic, as he usually does, has a response for everything, dropping Dean McCarthy, looking to make quick work of this championship match. But Dean never gives up, throwing Magic outside of the ring. Silas LaFleur sneaks a punch on Magic, pushing him right into a combo for Dean McCarthy, throws him off of the side of the ring. Dean doing all of the damage that he can.
It's anyone's guess what's coming next. I got some ideas.
But Magic will not be outdone as he jumps outside of the ring, dropping Dean McCarthy. Also prepared for the double stomp from Dean McCarthy, countering another blow as he drops a double stomp of his own, going for the 3 count to retain the belt. But Dean, after a 1 count, survives him. And with the referee looking right at him in this Extreme Rules match, Dean McCarthy hits him with the low blow, getting the 1, 2, 3, and Dean McCarthy gets his belt back, becoming the first 2-time champion in season 2 of the CKW. Dean McCarthy solely saves the company from the Crash Out Club owning all of the gold. But you gotta believe this won't be the end of Magic and the Crash Out Club. And as you'd expect, the Crash Out Club would not take that loss without a fight, as Jerome Briggs, one half of the new tag team champions, the Crash Out Club, will be facing off against the new CKW World Heavyweight Champion. Not for the belt, but just to bring pain. And he will do just that. As the champion would have put up a monster fight, Jerome Briggs does not hold back, getting the victory over the champ. But the Crash Out is not done there, because if you were wondering why Magic wouldn't handle this himself, it's because Magic would be dealing with Kyrie Nixon, who is next up to take on Dean McCarthy for the belt at the upcoming Slamma Jamma PLE. But all Magic wants to do is make life harder for Kyrie Nixon.
Oh my gosh! Oh.
And he would jump Kyrie Nixon in the CKW parking lot before he can go out for his match, resulting in trying to injure Kyrie Nixon.
Clutching the wrist. Oh my God. Torturing their opponent.
But after shedding some blood, Kyrie Nixon would come out of this brawl victorious. But his match this week would be canceled as he prepares for the big PLE this coming weekend. But we go from one brawl to another as we have ourselves a triple threat tornado tag match to determine who will be the next opponent for the current tag team champions, the Crash Out Club, as we see Los Buenos, the Dreams and Nightmare Syndicate, and Terminus all face off in this match. And this match would be nothing short of crazy moments, but at the end of the day, the former tag team champions would handle business in this brawl, get the victory, and solidify their spot to possibly get their belts back against the Crash Out Club at Slamma Jamma. Terminus gets the victory. But while the tag team members of Terminus get their victory, now Drip Messiah looks to get himself a big W in the Gauntlet match to determine who Rick Blade's opponent at Slamma Jamma will be. And this is a 4-man Gauntlet match, starting off with Michael Te'o versus Drip Messiah, as Drip Messiah starts off on the wrong side of things against Michael Te'o. Michael Te'o finding his way back into a possible 3rd attempt to get the belt back, but this one would not go his way as Drip Messiah found his groove, ending things early against Michael Te'o as he gets prepared for the next opponent in this Gauntlet match. Damn!
Is it enough? The cover! 2 count.
Thank you.
And his next opponent would be the sneaky Adonis Galliano in all of his flash, as he looks to go for his first singles gold in his time here in CKW. But Drip Messiah is a man on a mission and wastes no time taking out his second opponent in this gauntlet match. Drip realizes he has to get these matches done quick and in a hurry to be prepared for the next upcoming bout, and it would be against the dead man himself, the truth teller in Havoc, as the last matchup would be between Havoc and Drip Messiah. And even though Drip has looked good all the way through this matchup to this point, you can tell that he is out of gas, as Havoc made sure that he handled business and took out his opponent Drip Messiah piece by piece, hit after hit, blow by blow, and it was a one-sided matchup all the way through. You gotta give props to Drip Messiah to even get to this point, but Havoc would be your victor, and he will face off against Rick Blade for a chance at the CKW Liberty Championship right now at Slamma Jamma, the first PLE of this young season. And we waste no time as Havoc looks to bring gold back to the Dreams and Nightmare Syndicate, who have been quiet since month 1. But Rick Blade has shown to be a fighting champion since winning the belt, already with one defense behind him a few weeks ago, and now looking to get his second one in the same month. Rick Blade could impress a lot of folks if he gets this W against the bigger Havoc. And Rick would do nothing slight of entertain in this one, as Havoc, who we know is the much more powerful of the two, would try to outmuscle Rick Blade, but Rick Blade never backs down from a challenge.
He is getting rid of the turnbuckle
as he goes in with as many combos as possible, wrapping things up with a super perk slam.
Hell is happening here, Rick Blade.
This is gonna be bad. Angle slam.
Gets the 1-2-3 and retains the CKW Liberty belt. Next up, we have ourselves a fun and entertaining fatal four-way between Game Hunter, Ace Rodriguez, Mike Messiah, and Adonis Galliano, fresh off of a loss at the Gauntlet match. All four of these competitors looking to move up the power rankings and see themselves in an opportunity for gold in the near future. But the beauty of these fatal four-ways is it's absolute mayhem any way you look. But unfortunately, Mike Messiah saw himself on the wrong side of a lot of these combos in this match, but managed to survive every single one of the blows. You could not tell who would be the victor throughout this match. But in a moment with everyone down, Game Hunter finds Ace Rodriguez in the far corner and knocks him out with a Sister Abigail, gets the victory, and Game Hunter is your winner in this fatal four-way. But next up would be the big tag team battle, as Terminus looks to regain the championships that they lost to the Crash Out Club. But can the Crash Out Club keep their belts in their first defense against the former champions? But as you would expect, the former tag team champions showed their dominance quick and early, as they typically do. Fro starting things off against the heavy-hitting Jerome Briggs, and Fro was absolutely tossing him around like a rag doll, making it look easy as he normally does. Then he goes for the early tag for Curtis King, and Curtis King jumps into the action early as he gets a drop on Jerome Briggs. Jerome then gets the tag, bringing in Owen Dallas. Owen Dallas getting knocked out from Curtis King, but responds, trying to get the best of him in the other corner. But Curtis with the timely counter and gets the tag in for the FRO, who headbutts Owen Dallas. Everyone in the crowd believing at this point that the former tag team champions are en route to get the belts right back and snatch them away from the Crash Out Club, as everything was going Terminus, until it wasn't. From here on out, the Crash Out Club put on a clinic to wrap up this defense. Jerome Briggs would face off against Fro, where Fro gets one final attempt, but Jerome gets right back up, goes right after Fro, drops him with a big boot.
Comes Jerome.
As both tag members leave it in the hands of Owen Dallas and Curtis King, where Owen Dallas hits Curtis with a flurry of moves to weaken the former champ, and Curtis had no response for anything Owen threw his direction. Owen saunters over to Jerome Briggs, gets the tag for where Jerome ends this match, sending Curtis to the corner, tagging in his tag team member Owen Dallas. They go for a monster drop from the top rope, and Owen Dallas ends this with a people's elbow.
Unleashing the playbook. GG's, bro. GG's, man.
To send this championship back home to the Crash Out Club. The Crash Out Club retained the belts, taking out the former champions, and now we see what is next for the Crash Out Club. 2 belts retained by the club, but would Magic's damage be enough to stop Dean McCarthy from retaining later on? Before we can get to that match though, we see ourselves with another fatal 4-way with 4 big names in the CKW locker room, with Bailey, Silas LaFlair, Drip Messiah, and Big Michael Te'ao, all looking for this huge victory to get themselves in the right direction for gold in the near future. And just like the match earlier on, this one was absolute anarchy. The main difference between this match and the other one, this would be a falls count anywhere. So shout out to the referee trying to get to each and every pin, as there were some pins outside of the ring, inside of the ring. It wouldn't matter. It would be absolute chaos. But the ending would surprise a lot of people in attendance, where Silas LaFlair looked absolutely monstrous in this match between Silas and Drip Messiah. But the ending surprised a lot of folks, as Silas LaFlair was doing a great job taking care of Michael Te'ao, going for the 3 count. Drip Messiah wasted no time as he went up against Bailey. Silas fails the pin count. He decides to check his nails, all while Drip Messiah had Bailey down and out, and the 3 count goes to Drip, as Drip gets another big win after failing, unfortunately, in the Gauntlet match. But now the main event. A few weeks after getting his belt back, being the first ever 2-time CKW championship holder of this season, Dean McCarthy sees himself up against Kyrie Nixon. We remember Kyrie Nixon made an odd deal with the GM in order to get this matchup with Dean McCarthy. And even though Michael Te'ao couldn't handle his side of the bargain, would the trade-off ultimately work in Kyrie's favor? Well, we would find out in this match, as both Dean McCarthy and Kyrie Nixon were accompanied by their guys, as Michael Te'ao sat ringside, and so did Silas LaFlair and Uncle Ben. But Kyrie Nixon and Dean McCarthy did a great job trading blows in this matchup. Kyrie Nixon, who has been undefeated up until this point, has rarely seen himself with a real challenge, even with the 2 defenses he had with the CKW Liberty belt. And right now, Dean McCarthy showing him what it's like to be in the championship division. But Kyrie Nixon is undefeated for a reason, because once he decided to pick his point, he got Dean McCarthy where it hurts, countering 2 major blows from Dean McCarthy, waiting for him to get up, strikes, gets him down.
Time to end this.
And it's a 3 count, as Kyrie Nixon becomes the first wrestler in the CKW this season to hold both singles championships, and his plan ultimately worked. Kyrie Nixon is the CKW World Heavyweight Championship, shaking up the atmosphere of the CKW. What does this mean coming up next week?